Hi everyone, welcome to Samajho IAS. This is Rohit Dagar. We have a very special guest with us today, and he is Navneet BR, IFoS Indian Forest Service, rank 84, 2022. The results were out just recently in 2023, and he has cleared it. I know him personally since many years now. He's been a Samajho student, then he was an intern, then he was a full-time employee in a company, and eventually, finally, he got the goal that he wanted. He cracked the exam. So very happy for him. Congratulations, Navneet, and
Thank
thank
you
you
so
for
much, sir.
interacting with us. I hope that
Sure, sir.
students who are watching would derive a lot of value from what you have gone through over these so many years of your preparation, and your insights would help them prepare better. Right. So um I have personally known you since many years, and so I would definitely refrain from going deep into certain aspects, considering that I know them better. Rather than, I would like to give you the opportunity, or the platform, to speak as much as you can about your preparation yourself, because students are here to listen to you more than me. So I'll just ask you simple questions, and on the basis of that, you have full freedom to explain in as much detail as you can, because students are really interested in understanding the strategies that toppers have. Right. So we'll start with the your education background and where you live, and since when you've been preparing. You can just start and speak as much as you want.
Sure, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. Like, as already mentioned, I'm Navneet Pia. I'm from Kerala, Kozhikode district of Kerala. Then I have completed my BTech in civil engineering from NIT Calicut. Then thereafter, I have worked as a site engineer for about an year. Then I started my preparation right from 2018, and this is my fourth attempt attempting for the civil services. Okay, then like the initial attempt, I couldn't clear the prelims. In the first attempt, it was in 2019. I couldn't clear even the GS paper and also CSAT. I couldn't manage that. Like I started the preparation, I started the basic readings, but the first thing I lacked in the initial preparation was like I haven't got enough practice at the questions. I wasn't referring in as previous year questions. And the second attempt, it was in 2020. And during that attempt, like I managed to clear the prelims for the civil services and I have written the mains, but I couldn't qualify for the final personality test. Then during that time, like along with my preparation, I have also been depending on certain platforms for my adding certain basic fundamental knowledges. So in such a endeavor, I met Samjo. So during that time, I met Samjo. It was civil cosified. Like I used to learn from certain videos, like certain simple videos, short videos, which gave the foundation. So like that gave me an insight where within short duration of time I could get a content that is enough for me for my prelims and mains. So then gradually I joined in the Telegram group. Then I was an active student of the Samjo platform. Then after my mains in 2020, then I applied for an option as an intern at Samjo. Then that in turn, like during my downs where I couldn't clear the mains, that was an opportunity where I can utilize the effective year the coming year for my preparation. So I was working as an intern. Then gradually after my intern period over, I joined as a permanent member. Then that was a long journey because in the third attempt I couldn't even clear the prelims. It was due to the CSAT, and this was the fourth attempt in 2022 where I managed to clear the prelims both for the Forest Service, and I have cleared the mains for both Civil Service and Forest Service, and I have appeared both the interview, Civil Service and Forest Service personality test. I have appeared, and fortunately, I could manage to clear the Forest Service personality test, and I got ranked 84. So, like this was a long journey, and it has been evident that Samjo has been a clear partner for my preparation. So, this will be a brief about me and how I got here.
See, one thing that I would like to add, Navneet is a very humble and a very shy person. So, he might be speaking very highly of us. I don't think we have been so instrumental in anyone's preparation to this extent. He has worked really hard, very bright student, and I can only be a catalyst to someone's preparation. I cannot single-handedly, or nobody. I would not never believe if someone can single-handedly help someone crack the exam. That is almost impossible, because the student has to work hard and prepare for himself. Uh, Gathering help and getting the right mentorship, that is just a catalyst part. And one thing that I would like to add to this, which gives a great context about the struggle Navneet was going through, is that he was definitely a bright student, not clearing prelims, then writing mains, but not being able to perform really well in mains, then again not clearing prelims. That really help. No, that has a very impact on your confidence level, because at some point of time you start believing that I was almost there. Then again, I have to start from the beginning. Every year is a new cycle. And I remember this was last year, this attempt only, when I got to hear from the team that you were considering not taking this attempt,
Yes,
if you
sir.
remember.
Yes, sir. Definitely, sir.
I clearly said उसको बोलो चाहे कुछ भी हो जाए, attempt तो देना है. You must give your attempt, because fourth attempt is something that it is not your last attempt. Even if it was your last attempt, you should have given that, because it you don't want to break your momentum. And since it is your ultimate goal that you're looking at, and I believe that this is the best opportunity that you have, and you're clearly working on a lot of great quality content. Students who need context, he was also working on the daily editorials and the mains magazine, and writing handwritten answers, posting them in the mains magazine. So I had seen the quality of work. I believe that he is almost there. So not giving the attempt would definitely be detrimental for him. So I had asked Ashutosh कि इसको push करो, convince him that he has to give this attempt. And I am glad that you gave the attempt. See, things turned out so well for you,
Yes, sir.
and you should be
Definitely, sir.
thankful to God that
Yes, sir.
you eventually took the right decision. So right now, being in the service, and on the other hand, giving such a vague prelims exam for this year, uh, totally different two things.
Yes,
You're
sir.
there, you've
Definitely.
crossed the line, right? So very thankful to you that you took the right decision. And the reason why I brought this thing up is that students should have the context that nobody is a born topper. Nobody is absolutely sure how things would turn out to be. Everyone is struggling, everyone is uncertain. When most of the toppers, when they crack the exam, they create this aura around themselves that we were born toppers, we knew what we were doing, and we definitely were able to crack this by ourselves. Navneet, I know him personally, and I can vouch that whatever guidance or whatever information that he'll provide would be well researched and honest. Most importantly, because I have had cases where students who had cracked the exam, and they had started building this all around themselves that we had done it ourselves, nobody helped us, and they distanced, वे saying that इससे अच्छा तो हम यही बोल देते हैं कि हमने खुद से किया है, बिकॉज ये इतना पुश नहीं करेंगे. ठीक है, आई माई स्टूडेंट्स, आई नो सम ऑफ देम. I would not like to name them, but one girl who was into Indian Forest Service 4 5 years back, she was in touch with me throughout her preparation. I was helping her because I believed she could crack the exam. And after even her mains exam, she wrote her name in the mains answer sheet. She asked me कि मेरा पेपर कैंसिल तो नहीं हो जाएगा. उस टाइम पे that pressure in her head, उसको calm down करना, and then interview के time पे भी I helped her so desperately, hoping that she would get a rank. और rank आने के बाद she didn't even tell me, right? And I got to know from some other sources कि इसकी rank आई है, top 100 में आई है, Indian Foreign Service मिला है. And when I saw her Instagram, she had about 130 140K followers. उस टाइम पे थोड़ा मेरे को बुरा भी लगा एक टाइम पे कि यार आई हेल्प्ड हर सो मच और सो, बट शी हैड स्टार्टेड सेइंग कि शी डिड हरसेल्फ, और उसके बेसिस पे फैन फॉलोइंग वगैरह बन गई, कुछ बड़े प्लेटफॉर्म से जाके बोल दिया. एंड anyways, so although I could use that as an opportunity to create a controversy and then gain a lot of followership and so on, वो हमने नहीं किया. बिकॉज ठीक है, जब उन्होंने नहीं बोला तो नहीं सही, हमने कुछ नहीं किया होगा anyways. But in case of Navneet, I can vouch that whatever information that he has and whatever he'll give, it will be an honest review. And he would not brag about what is done with his preparation, but honestly, he'll speak everything in a very clear manner. So Navneet, will start with Indian Forest Service, and since you've given interviews for both Indian Forest Service and civil services this year, you cracked the Indian Forest Service interview, but unfortunately, you could not clear the civil services interview. But you have great analysis and understanding of both the exams from this year's perspective. तो हम दोनों को cover करेंगे, we'll compare, right? And on the basis the students can understand, because a lot of students do not realize and understand that Indian Forest Service is a very good service, and most of the students that I have come in interaction with, they have very less idea of Indian Forest Service and how to go about it. So first thing, let's start with prelims. Right. So you had a very good score in prelims, of course, because you cleared the Indian Forest Service cutoff. Your score was around 105. And in CSAT also, it was about 98, 97.9. So please help students understand how to get a good score in prelims in both the papers, especially CSAT, mein, how they should get more than 66 marks, because this is something that is bothering almost every student this time.
Okay, definitely, sir. Like, I would like to add a particular point that, as you have already mentioned, I was in a mood, like, even I couldn't clear the third prelims, I was in a mood to skip the attempt. And like, I was like, make this work as a permanent work. I was ready to work like that. But while interacting with you and Ashdor sir also, like both mentioned, like if we are ready to reduce your workload and you can prepare as much time you need, that was a great leap, because that gave me the confidence, like I need to give that. And coming to the prelims, that is where I need to add the prelims part also, because I was part of the Samajho team where I was preparing certain questions, prelims related questions, and I was also proofreading certain answers, even with CSAT also. So that the first thing that I would like to point will be like that. We need a certain amount of practice, especially with CSAT, because CSAT cannot be considered easy. Because even with 66.67 mark, that is not a easy mark, because we often like certain people with engineering background often take it lightly because they have this aptitude of clearing certain mathematical and quantitative questions. But CSAT require a certain amount of practice, because that can give you an edge of time, because the certain questions won't take long. It'll take long to decipher. Even with the passages, we need a thorough reading, because rather than the initial passages where the answers were directly from the passage, now we need to infer. We need to infer from the context of the question. So we need a certain amount of practice. And from practice, I would like to say that it will be previous year questions that should be the prime guide that to help in the practice thing. And also for GS paper, GS prelims, we need our base to be strong, because we can see the pattern. Even we are following certain current affairs or current affairs magazines, the questions won't be related only at a particular 10 to 12 months current affairs, but it will be an accumulated knowledge. So like what I would like to add is that for clearing prelims, which a cutoff which is needed for clearing the forest service prelims, we need to have a knowledge, a revised knowledge of previous year questions and previous year context of current current events. So that can be managed, because there are certain content. Even while talking with Samajho, we have certain premium content which provides the opportunity where accumulated there are a charted, because I have been also associated with certain magazine work. So there we have sorted certain content in a chronological manner where we can take the content and we can refer the content, and related links are also provided. So the prime thing will be for GS paper, we need to practice a lot of questions, and that too from previous year and current affairs, not just of the 1 year, but the preceding years also need to be focused.
So what do you think, if you're preparing for prelims, how many mock tests should you go throughout the year? Is it required, or the final 2 months would do? And in both cases, how many mock tests do you believe that one should practice before going to the exam on?
Like from my personal experience, we need to give a good number of mock tests. I won't say a particular number, a particular golden number of 30 mock tests. It won't be. It would be from personal choice. But whatever be the number, you should rectify from the previous mock. Like if you are given a mock test and you have given certain mistakes, that may be contextual mistakes, because you might miss the context where the answer should be correct, or you might have taken a guess. So you should analyze like where my mistake was happened, because if it was due to clarity in content, I need to revise my content. If it was due to a blind guess, then I should reduce taking my guesses. So when asked to me about number of test series, I would say it should be regular rather than taking a large number of tests and overburdening in the last 2 months. We can take a regular test series because it hardly we should spare a 2 hours maximum for a test, and for analyzing the particular test, we can take another 2 hours. So that 4 hours will give a perspective like where we are correct and where we need to work. So in my personal opinion, we need to practice, and that actually worked for me because practicing a large number of questions, large number of materials available, large number of questions available will give set a context where I need to prepare and align the direction. Because even a certain week I will be focusing polity, but I will be focusing on polity questions. So I can so it's like where I need to refer more on speaker, or should I refer more on the recent issue related to governor. So that gives me a context. So a regular practice will be my goal.
So this is a very good point that Navneet has put up, that more than practicing a lot of questions, you should work towards analyzing the mistakes that you commit in the question so that you get an idea which are the areas or the topics or the subjects that you are lacking, and how you can cover them up in the limited time that you have. Very good. So one thing that I would know want to ask is that do you need to practice questions in a different way for civil services and or Indian Forest Services, because you're aiming for a very higher cutoff in terms of Indian Forest Service? Were you specifically preparing for Indian Forest Service before prelims, or it happened after you cleared the cutoff?
uh, from to be honest, like Indian Forest Service, a separate preparation for Forest Service was not done from my part. But I definitely know that there are a large number of questions from environmental area which we need to give priority, and there needs a basic content knowledge because the basic concepts are being brushed up rather than going the extra key specific factors. The basic knowledge has been tested in the environmental area. So I have this idea. So I gave a focus because, like, while analyzing a prelims question, like from the 100 questions, we will see which part has which weightage. Like, we will identify modern India has this much weightage, and polity has this much weightage, environment, economics. We will identify. So during that time, I got this clarity that we need to more focus on certain areas where even with our basic knowledge, we can clear the maximum number of questions because maximum number of correct answers should be there. So my preparation was not directly focused on clearing forest service prelims, but I was focusing on like the maximum questions that without guess I can make that correct, and I prioritized the area where the more questions came. And environment was an area where the number of questions were high, along with other polity and history modern India. So I prioritized these three sections thoroughly so that it can be managed, and I could have a cutoff because in my previous attempt, like during my second attempt, I cleared the prelims. Like my mark was the limit of the prelims cutoff. Like the prelims cutoff mark was my mark. So I was in the border. Like I was in the tense situation where whether I will be in or out, in or out. I was waiting for the day of the result. But during my this fourth attempt, I was in a scenario like I was confident that I will have this much amount of mark because that confidence was obtained from the questions, like the number of questions I have practiced, and I was thorough that these much sure questions will be sure shot, and I will be having this much mark. So that was my strategy.
If we can break up, how many questions did you attempt, and how many questions were you absolutely sure of without even looking at the solutions after the exam? And how many questions were there where you did some intelligent guessing? And then we'll come to this year's prelims, how the questions have, differentiated from previous year patterns and everything. So, I mean, how many questions did you attempt?
Sorry, sir, I am not
Just a
I
rough
am not
idea.
sure of the yeah. Like even my prelims, I was clear of. I can remember of the prelims type because during my first cycle, like we had 2 hours to complete the exam. During my first cycle, I roughly only marked about 35 questions, which was the only 35 questions which was absolutely sure of because other questions I have marked in the question paper which I need to go a second round. So in the first round, the sure shot answers was marked. And I was confident that in that 35, around 30 will be correct. Only a 5 will be wrong. That was my confidence in that. And in the second cycle, where I tried to go more for the 50-50 options because two options I was able to eliminate and I need to go for certain number of questions. So finally, I am aware that I attempted around 74 questions. 74 questions which was I attempted on the complete code. And comparing to my mark, I got a limited number of wrong answers. I guess less than 15 wrong answers or something like that. I'm not.
So the thing is, the reason why I asked you this question is because I wanted to understand the overall percentage accuracy for your attempts. Because 74 questions means that you were absolutely sure what you were doing in the exam, because some
Yes, sir.
students prefer attempting 90, considering their accuracy is a bit lower. So I believe your accuracy would have been above 75% for sure.
Yes,
That
sir.
is the
Yes, sir.
reason why you could score above 100.
Yes,
So
sir.
the reason why I asked you this is scoring above 100 with a range of 72 to 78 questions attempted means that your accuracy was higher, and to achieve a higher accuracy you have to revise really well and analyze your mistakes in the paper really well, and to be absolutely sure what kind of questions you would be attempted. One thing that you mentioned, which I thought was really good, that you went through certain revisions of the paper, where in the first iteration you attempted certain questions that you were absolutely sure of, that gave you the confidence that you would clear the cutoff if you could just manage, about 20 more marks. And those 20 marks can be, obtained in the remaining 65 questions. So that gives you the confidence, and that
Yes,
confidence
sir.
in the first hour of the paper actually helps you crack the exam. It
Yes,
is
sir.
not just
Definitely, sir.
about the entire year that you've put your efforts, but that environment inside the exam also gives you the confidence. So this is a good point. And if you look at, you've worked both on the daily newspapers in our organization and both on magazines. So that means that you were going through both newspapers and magazines. So what would you suggest someone who would want to choose one, or if you would suggest both, which one should be chosen by a particular student? Because certain students don't have time, some students don't want to invest time in a particular newspaper or a magazine. What would you suggest, newspaper or magazine?
Okay, so from my personal experience, like being part of the Samajho team was a particular turning point because I have been constantly engaging with a certain content. I was reading the newspaper and I was referring the magazine,
Just
but like yes,
interrupt you. Sorry, I'm interrupting you. Some
yes,
students
sir.
do not get the context. Uh, I must tell you that we only hire people, employees from our own student base. We never
Okay,
put
sir.
vacancies outside our student base. We only tell them on our Telegram channel or YouTube channel and so on. This is because we want to build a community and give employment opportunities to people who are starting from. No matter if you are a free student or a paid student, doesn't matter. But at some point of time you studied from us, and if you are connected to our community, we would only hire from those people, and that is where Navneet came from. And Navneet, please continue. Which
Yes, sir.
one?
Like from my personal experience, I have been roughing the newspaper, but what I have been doing in Samjo, the magazines are prepared. Like there have been 3 to 4 round of revision because even if a particular member is creating a magazine, the certain other member is proofreading. He's arranging the matter accordingly, subject wise, topic wise. So there have been a work behind this magazine. So if certain people are in lapse of time, or if they are in the last moment of preparing for the prelims, so they missed a certain number of months of preparation, then they can definitely depend on magazine. But if we have the opportunity to at least go through the newspaper, that in turn helps in setting a context, because every question might not be directly from the magazine. But if you have referred to a context, then that might be helping in eliminating an option, because in prelims I finally come to an accumulated knowledge, and we need to, because the answer is there, we need to only identify the correct answer. So for identifying the answer we need certain elimination process. So reading newspaper thoroughly gives that edge. But if a person is genuinely short of time and who needs to cover a large number of content in a limited time, a magazine will be a sure shot go, because rather than, I don't know what happens to other institute or other magazine, but behind the magazine that Samjay is preparing, there are minimum 2 to 3 people behind the magazine. So it goes under the hand of minimum 2 to 3 people. And that definitely helps, because you got the content directly which need to be focused. It should be minimal content and the relevant content. So that might help because in preparing from a magazine, that will be my goal.
One point that I would like to add here is that if you're casually reading newspapers, that helps you in building context from mains perspective and understanding the syllabus and interview and everything. You can't skip newspapers as per se, but if you want to spend more time on the magazines, I would suggest that you spend at least 15 minutes daily on the newspaper, just casually going through the editorial and just forget about it. It will remain in a subconscious, and you would know, get the context of how things are unfolding in the world and India, and how you should be preparing for it. The major news are what you should be looking at, and so that you can identify them in the magazine itself. You should have context of what's happening. But spending 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours every day on newspaper and analysis is not worth it, because you can use that time understanding your, and learning and grasping the static concepts and related concepts, which can help you build your base for the prelims and mains exam. See, uh, this is really important. And you talked about elimination techniques, and these elimination techniques, they appear to be eliminated this year in prelims.
Yes, sir.
What would you say about that? And how would you suggest someone in such scenarios, if let's say the same kind of paper comes next year, although there could be changes again because UPSC would keep on changing their pattern. And what would you suggest to students? How should they go about the preparation to ensure that they get 100 marks in again in current year scenario?
Okay, like the present paper, the last very recent paper, actually, Saha rightly pointed out, the elimination was eliminated, the elimination technique, because there has been a hype, because in the recent year, there has been a hype. Certain elimination techniques will directly clear you this much mark, this much questions can be directly attempted using certain elimination technique. Certain verbs can be identified, certain noun can be identified, and that option can be eliminated. But you basically took a smart move, directly eliminated that facility. But considering the paper, the thing is that rather than running behind certain techniques or shortcuts, it should be clear with the basic facts. Because even we only one pair and only two pairs are correct, only three pairs are correct. We need to identify which are the two pairs. So we need to be clear about the content. So even with taking an example of geography, there might be certain area surrounding Ukraine or surrounding Russia. If you're clear with the map, then we can directly identify which two the areas are that associated. So the basic thing will be that rather than going for shortcuts or elimination strategies, we should be clear with the basic and the basic content. And also there have been a hype regarding current affairs and current events, but we should focus which are the current events that are actually repeating and which should be a matter of interest of UPSC. So that might give an edge, because even the pattern of UPSC question paper might change the next year. We cannot opt for a correct strategy to appear, but it will be this accumulated knowledge, this knowledge about the basic facts that might help you in clearing the exam.
See, one thing I would like to add to this is, if you consider this is the bar of ways of attempting the paper, this being purely elimination technique based exam where you could attempt a lot of questions if you have some idea about everything. This being a purely conceptual or analytical based exam where you have clear idea about something, then only you can attempt this. The paper always wanted to be at the center, giving some weightage to everything. But over the last few years, it has been swinging towards a purely elimination based paper. And that is the overall environment around UPSC preparation that has popped up over YouTube and Telegram, where there were videos I was also noticing with a million views or thousands of views, where some toppers or maybe some faculty or some seniors were teaching this kind of method to everyone. So this was the predominant way of attempting the paper for a majority of students. So UPSC has pulled the strings back, bringing the paper again to the center line, where now they have put this conceptual and analytical and a traditional orthodox paper where you need to know everything to be able to attempt it, so that people start forgetting about the pure elimination technique based way of attempting the paper. Again, at some point of time, there would be a balance, I believe, in the coming years. You cannot be absolutely sure, but totally depending on one way of attempting the paper is detrimental. You have to be dependent on one way of preparing, that is to be strong with your basics and do things the orthodox way, where you analyze your mistakes, keep working on them, revise regularly, so that again it is a cutoff. Someone would again be scoring 100 marks this time. a lot of students would believe that we are not able to clear the cutoff. There would be people who would clear the Indian Forest Service cutoff. There would be people who would be absolutely sure that they are scoring way above the cutoff, and they would start early with their mains preparation. So instead of working around shortcuts in a comprehensive way, we should work towards ensuring our fundamentals and your basic preparation strategies. See, we've done with prelims, and now we will move on to mains. One thing was sure, that you were scoring high, so you were absolutely confident that you would clear the cutoff, and you started preparing, because I know we have interacted. So you started preparing before the result was out.
Yes, sir.
What is the value and what is the benefit of those extra 15 to 20 days that you get, where others are focused towards analyzing the paper and looking towards the cutoff and hoping for the best, and you were working towards your mains preparation?
Okay, like that is a definite crucial period, because the 15 to 20 days where we will be having a time to at least prioritizing and strategizing our preparation, because rather than having the judgment or concern regarding whether I would clear or not, these 15 days we can prioritize what are the areas I need to focus. If you are already been into the preparation, you will definitely have a certain notes and certain areas to prepare. Or if you are new to this means, you can effectively utilize these 10 to 15 days, like prioritizing your areas, like prioritizing your which note should be referred, because means you need a certain set of definite notes which can be easy handy, because we need certain number of facts, certain number of figures, data, examples, all these things should be there. So for me, I particularly utilize that 10 to 15 days for prioritizing the areas, because certain areas have been weak for me. And like even considering the optional, like I thought of prioritizing more for the optional, because that is an area where I can score more. So that was the plan I was having. So I planned in a way such that I would strategize my note, where which are areas to be filled, which are the new areas to be added to a certain subject, and how my optional strategy should be there. Like I should write a regular number of answers within this number of days. And also I enrolled to certain test series, mains test series, which were that I can like prepare beforehand, because when the result came, it might be a Saturday or Sunday coming, and you will be having a test series and you will be writing it without preparing. But rather than that, we will be have a week time, we will be preparing for this exam, and we will be ready for the exam. So my plan was that don't take even this test series lightly, because this test series will be a mock platform where we can analyze how we are going to answer, how we are going to manage time. Even though I couldn't complete the first 20 questions of the first test, but I used to ensure that I was completing a certain number of questions, and these questions had certain structure. The certain structure is definitely followed, and I was working on where the facts can be added, where the new context can be added. So that was the plan I used with the head start of 10 to 15 days.
And one thing is that, if can you be a bit more specific, whether what were the subjects that you were working on, whether it was towards essay or GS 1 to 4, or your optional, or your notes enrichment for all the subjects? What was that specific thing that you were working on in those 15 days?
So the specific thing will be my option. First priority was my option. Like I was ready with my notes, but I need to be that in an answer format. So I prioritized. I consulted my faculty, and I prepared a note which should be in answer format. That was the first thing I did. And also with ethics, because in my previous attempt, I couldn't put enough like the ethics related terms, ethics related examples, personal examples. I couldn't manage that within a limited time. So I prioritized in ethics and optional paper. That was my first priority. Along with that, I had a certain notes, but it was not main study. It was a clumsy note. I gathered so much content. So I tried to reduce the note, because I need a note which can be revised. So that was my strategy, with priority to optional and ethics, then to GS papers. And essay, like I was in a plan of referring previous year essays, like previous year essays by toppers, and like analyzing their approach. That was my attempt. This was the strategy I have done.
And one more thing, a lot of students are confused that I have seen queries where students ask that the Indian Forest Service and Civil Services mains exam is very, nearby, and you don't get enough time to prepare for both. What was your strategy? Because I know there's a gap between both the exams. What was your strategy were you preparing for civil services fully at that particular point of time, and you started your forest services preparation after your mains exam for civil services?
Yes, sir, definitely. That was my strategy. I was prioritizing entirely for civil service mains because that was my first priority also. So, and I had this notion like around 1.5 months will be available after civil service mains to forest service mains. So I was in a plan because already we are preparing GS papers that will be in a way useful to GK paper of forest service, and I need to learn two new optional subjects. That was a concern, but I kept in mind that after the mains of civil service, I will take a 2 to 3 days break and I will start for a service preparation. So, like even I consulted two or more seniors and faculties, they gave me the confidence. Even I contacted sir, I messaged sir Rohit sir regarding this only. Then he told like first go with the thing you are having readily now. So go with me and you will have the time to prepare for a service. So I had this plan and I entirely focused on civil service. And after civil service, I took a 2 to 3 day break, 3 days break, and started for a service preparation. But considering the for service means the two options was entirely new subjects for me, and I only approached in a way where I could write to answers. I was not focused on gaining the exact content or exact clarity of the content. The prime focus was regarding managing the question paper. So my focus was referring the previous question paper and preparing certain notes which will be useful for writing the answer. So that was my priority.
And because a lot of students would again think that 1.5 months is too less to prepare two optional subjects for Indian Forest Service, and that too might be different from what you have in civil services, because your option was philosophy, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And after that, your options for Indian Forest Services were
Forestry and geology, sir.
forestry and geology, totally different things.
Yes, sir.
How did you manage to prepare for those two subjects? Because these two subjects are not there in GS 1, 2, 3, 4 in civil services.
So, like in my case, there were the institute, like the regional institute where I have been preparing for the civil service mains. There have been a facility because there have been two faculties which have got the degree in forestry and geology, and they will be available after civil service mains. And they took the class for us because within the short span of 1.5 months, we had a class about 1 month. It was directly focused on only for the forest service previous year question pattern, and we had a regular class like a weekend, complete weeks complete days we had a class forestry and geology, but the class was directly focused on attempting the paper or managing the paper rather than having the complete knowledge of the subject, because we were creating a only a concept clarity was there regarding how to manage certain concept and how to manage certain questions. So that was the strategy. Only after the civil service means I joined these two classes and also referred previous year notes prepared by certain toppers, because certain toppers notes for geology and forestry was available in the community, and I referred to certain notes and these classes. This was my strategy, sir.
Wow, because if I look at your marks, these are fairly well for both the optional subjects. You were
Yes, sir.
scoring around 100 in all papers out of
Yes,
200.
sir. Yes, sir.
Now, you're saying that looking at previous year notes and previous year question strategies and model answers helped you score this 100 marks out of 200 for a fairly new subject for you.
Yes, sir. Like I already mentioned, I had the guidance of two people because they had their degree in forestry, one person in degree in forestry, the other with a degree in geology. They actually helped because they have this knowledge of their degree knowledge. They have 2 to 3 years of experience in dealing with the subject. They have their practical experience. So they gave the insight like how to approach the subject. But along with that, rather than referring any standard book, it was purely based on their class and the topper's note. Because for referring a standard book, it might take a definite number of time. But my focus was right attempting the paper. So that was very focused and strict attempt that gave for a service. Because given this opportunity, I should not waste that opportunity. So it was a focused and an attempt which I have by confidence. Like I dedicated that attempt for only that, because rather than self-doubting me, I focused on these two plans. Okay.
Next, we have to look at the subjectivity part of means. So basically, not only the answers are required to be subjective, the questions are subjective, but the way of evaluating these answers has also become very subjective, where scaling and normalizing so many things happen across subjects. Because the reason why I ask you this is you had scored fairly well in your essay in your previous attempt. in
Yes, sir.
2020. You were
Yes,
scoring
sir.
120, right?
Yes, sir.
And
120.
this year, your essay score is a bit low, and this is the
Yes, sir.
only reason I believe where you could not make it to the final list.
Yes,
And
sir.
10 or 15 marks more in the interview, you could have got a very good rank, right? So,
Yes, sir.
and you have your philosophy optional. So, essay
Yes,
was
sir.
something that you were really confident in. So, I thought that we must discuss
Yes, sir.
what is the subjectivity that we are looking at. Someone from a philosophy optional, someone who was confident with his essay skills, someone who has already got a good score in previous attempt in mains itself. Forget about mock tests. How come this year your essay score was low in civil services mains exam?
So from what I can analyze, it might be regarding I might have complicated the essay because a person from philosophy background might have complicated the way a philosophical essay should be there. Because in the previous attempt, I was attempting the essay with an open mind, where I was considering essay as a form of speech, where I like to converse for certain ideas in a structured manner. But while considering this year's attempt, the both options have their philosophical touch. Both the set of questions in section A and section B was philosophical, and I opted a area which was much confident for me as a philosophy student. But the thing will be that the considering the score I have got, it was 86. So considering the score I have received in essay, I think I might have complicated a particular essay, because that might be the reason a certain mishit might happen to a certain approach the way I have given that. There is a subjectivity related to the paper of essay, because it should not, what I have understand that it should not be complicated. It should be a simple way of conversation where we will be putting our ideas across in the certain topic, like where we can identify certain examples. Even though I thought like I managed this well, even I had a grace time of around 10 minutes to revise or read my essays, that might be a reason where I scored low.
Yeah, I strongly believe there should be 2 to 3 evaluators for the same paper for essay. It is all about the resources UPSC has, because this is something the students have been preparing their entire year, and this is the most important part of their life. This should not be dealt with, a bit casual behavior where one faculty has some bent of mind, some frame, and on the basis of that they award some marks to someone who could have scored better. And these 28 marks that you lost in
Yeah,
essay, that I believe you could have easily got, were the 28 marks that you missed for the final cutoff
fine,
in
yes, sir.
this. But anyways, because the reason why I asked you this question is I can relate it to what I went through way back in 2015 when I was giving my mains exam. And I remember this was the time when I was giving all the exams that there were, because we had to start our platform and we were figuring out which particular aspect of government exams we should go with. So I was giving every single exam, starting from 12th class clerical exams to civil services, preparing for everything. And simultaneously, we were building our YouTube channel and our app and building the tech around it. So at that point of time, when I had my mains exam, it was 2nd December, if I am remembering it rightly. That was the first paper essay, and 1st December was the SSC paper, and I had my center in Kota. So I drove all the way to Kota, gave that exam, came back late at 3 a.m. Next morning, early morning, I was giving my essay paper. So um, my first essay was really well, and I was really happy that I'm killing it. The subjectivity part, I'm coming to it. I was really happy with my first essay. The second essay, when I started, I thought that I have about 1.5 hours. I'll be able to complete it really well. And then the teacher said that you just have half an hour left. I looked at my watch. My watch had stopped at 1.5 hours. And the teacher was a very, she was very um, a mute one, because she did not regularly tell us about the time that is left, and everyone had their watches. She thought that everyone is no fairly aware of what is happening in the exam, how much time is left. I was with the impression that there is enough. My watch hadn't stopped; it was moving very slowly. Something went wrong. And when I realized I just have half an hour left for my second essay, I started just scribbling whatever came to my mind, no structure, no nothing. I just wrote whatever came to my, whatever there in my brains related to this aspect, and then I just wrote it. The first essay was something that I prepared really well, wrote an architecture at the back of my sheet, and then wrote a really, really good essay. So I was hoping that I would get somewhere in the range of 80, 85 marks, nothing more than that. I got 113, considering that my second essay was not even worth reading, if I can say. And that is where the subjectivity part struck to me. If someone can award me 113 for, I don't know the quality they would have assessed from the first essay, but I used to think, यार ये यूपीएससी है. If someone has a great impression of my skills, essay skills from the first essay, इसका मतलब ये तो नहीं है that they would have just rushed through the second one, considering that इतना अच्छा first essay लिखा है तो second भी अच्छा ही होगा. So that is where the subjectivity part kicks in. Either multiple no evaluators for the same paper would have ensured that I would have not scored more than 85 or 90, considering that my first essay was really well. But 113 was not something that I was expecting. So this is where I was thinking that I should ask you this, because you have gone to a similar situation where you should have scored higher but scored less. So there is again, if we talk about the interview part, since you have given both the interviews, again we would come to the subjectivity part, where in one interview you've scored a bit higher, and in the second you've scored a bit lower as compared to the average marks that I would consider. 10 marks more than the average in one, and 10 marks less than the average in the other. Do you think there is subjectivity? And if you can share your experience of both the interview in detail. I mean, how did you prepare for both the interviews? Was there a difference in the level of preparations? What was the environment of the interview? What were the difference in the level of questions from both the panels and the number of people in the panels? Please discuss in detail.
Okay, sure, sir. Like both considering both the personality test, like I had this notion, it won't be an interview, it will be a personality test. So I should work on my DAF. That was the first thing that came to my mind. But already people around me gave me the knowledge that the forest service personality test will be a bit more technical, because we'll be having certain subject experts and they'll be asking certain technical knowledge, especially related to forest and forestry related terms. So that notion had been in my mind, but ultimately it's a personality test. So I should work on the personality aspect, the DAF part, because the detailed application form I have already submitted. So that will be the questionnaire for them. So I need to prepare. That was my initial strategy. And for like my civil service interview was on March 17th, and like the results came on early December. Like, so there was enough time for that, because I was not in the first batch of interview. I was in the second slot. So I had enough time, so I started referring newspapers, because there are certain possibilities interview can go because I have this knowledge, like the interview can go in certain aspects. One might be directly related to current events. The chairperson might start from the news of the day, and that might be related to directly current events. Some certain interview can go directly factual way. They might be asking certain factual questions which I should be aware of. Or the third thing will be, it will be a DAF thing, a DAF, because DAF based, a biodata based question, or it can be a mix of this, because I having this knowledge. So I prepare in a way such that I should have a basic fair knowledge of the current happenings, because I should not overdo that, but I should have a minimum knowledge to make them aware that I am aware of my surroundings. And the second thing was I focused on the DAF part. And considering my civil service interview, it was an entirely 100% DAF-based interview. No question was related to current events. Nothing was factual. Entirely, all the members asked directly from the DAF. And it was Honorable Satyavati ma'am's board. And the question, like the atmosphere was like, considering the personality test, you might have heard this experience. The board was very cordial. Like, they initially gave the impression that we are here having a conversation. You should not be stressed. We are just exchanging information. We are exchanging knowledge. You don't need to be tense. Then start of that, they will be asking certain ice-breaking questions related to our name, our area. So in my personality of civil service personality test, the question I directly start from my DAP. I am from Kozhikode. So the first question was related to that. How Kozhikode got its name, what is Kozhikode and Calicut, and certain follow-up questions regarding that. And the second member asked me about my option. My option was philosophy, and the question was related to philosophy only, certain philosophical thought and my view on that, and about certain philosophers. And fortunately, the other two members also was directly asking philosophical questions only. And the last final member asked me about civil engineering aspect because my degree was in civil engineering. So it was an expected line. And I had this notion that I finally managed the interview because as it was an expected line aspect was from the DAF point of view. I had certain answers with me. I was prepared in advance and I know I was aware of myself, so I could manage the question. And it was a cordial atmosphere. And I thought like I have done a bit well. And I was confident while exiting the room. And considering the atmosphere, it was very cordial and they helped me to get through the experience also. But when the results came, it was not like what I felt because I my score will be considered to average or below average score only because of 165 in a personality test. It's a below average score because I need to score more to be in the list because that is the notion. But when I came to forest service, I had this notion it is technical and the related things should be less. So I had this notion already in my mind. I was in a position that technical questions are expected and I need to know certain facts. And within the time, my interview was on June 21st. So I had this time after the result came. I had this enough time. I brushed upon certain knowledges. And nothing to my surprise, by like the interview was purely technical, nothing from DAF, one or two questions. The first question was only from the DAF, entirely technical and technical to the point of basis that it was related to international relations, it was related to historical context and any other aspects other than forest and geology. So my interview went to a way which was not expected in a manner. But and there were situations like in my forest personality test, there were situations where I might have said 5 to 6 times, I don't know, I am not sure about the answer. Sorry, sir, I will refer. I am not aware of this context. I will refer. That was my point. My continuous 2 to 3 answers was I don't know. And after completing my interview, I had this notion that compared to my civil service, this is the most messed up interview. I am not expecting anything from it. Okay, then 35 to 40 minutes I was in there, but I haven't done anything. So I thought like I called my parents, I said, interview is done and I am done. I am not expecting the result. Like, let's go home. That was the thing. But ultimately, when the results came, I could manage get a interview score in forest service, which was much greater, much higher than my civil service experience. So what I inferred is that they are not expecting your knowledge. They are not expecting how well you're speaking, how fluent your English is. Like you know the every facts, you know the last number, last birth rate, death rate, nothing. They are not checking your knowledge. It entirely might be a personality and how you are managing the situation because selecting a person to manage a situation is the role they are assigned to. So they might be checking the personality and with a certain knowledge or certain guidelines they might be having. And that might be the criteria for selecting the candidate. So genuinely speaking, it's not an interview, it's not an HR interview where you are expected to learn, but it will be a personality test where your personality will be assessed and a person preparing like a person preparing for civil service will have the personality because the one is preparing for doing service to society, so he will be having the personality how he should work and what are qualities he should be having. So a person with certain that quality and a behavior of such that and working in an or interacting in an atmosphere where with other aspirants, other mentors, it won't be a difficult step. The personality test won't be a difficult step. It is just analyzing you. It will be like you are having a conversation with some elderly members. Even like in during my interview, I had this thought in mind, like I am meeting my grandparents or something like that. We'll be having a conversation. They are having much more knowledge than me, so I will be discussing what are my levels and how I can gain my knowledge. That was the thought am having. So considering the preparation that is required for personality tests, from my personal opinion, it will be only analyzing your personality. So you should like if there is no start point for preparing your personality. Even you have certain drawbacks, like if you are having certain lack of confidence while speaking in front of people, or you might not be having a polished language. There are certain areas that you can work, which can in turn build your confidence. That will be the only preparation you will be requiring because rather than being in the process, you have known about the events, current events, you will be aware of certain facts, you will be aware of certain areas. So the DAF analysis can be done, and with the help of, there are mentors like even Rohit sir, there are mentors. I have been particularly assigned to a group for interview guidance preparation of Samajho only. Then there have been discussion, there have been doubt clearance sessions. So such sessions will in turn help you create an awareness about it, like what areas should be expected from your DAF. Rather than that, there not be a specific preparation, because it is only a test of your personality.
So basically, to summarize this, you want to say that not just, although very important thing, but not just preparing your getting ready with your conceptual understanding or your DAF, your detailed application form. One also has to be confident in their beliefs, in who they are as a person and what they believe in, and that confidence and self-belief would eventually help you uh, answer better or be confident in the interview hall. I think your video froze.
I'm having a network issue. Okay, I'm back now.
Right. So I'm saying that not just your conceptual understanding, not just your DAF analysis, your detailed application form, it is also about having the self-belief and the confidence in your abilities, in your way of believing in your thoughts and your life, and building that confidence and using that in the interview hall.
It's definitely.
So this is more about certain aspects of your personality and your conceptual understanding. Both of them would help you, right? So this is all that we had to discuss. I hope that the students who are watching this would have gained a lot of value and would have understood how they have to target the Indian Forest Service and the civil service at the same time. One last question, Navneet. What are your plans for future? I mean, do you wish to take one more attempt, or you're done with the preparation cycle?
Actually, I have already registered for 2023 prelims, but the results came 4 days prior to that. Civil service result came 4 days prior to that. So I was not in a mind to attempt for the prelims, so I skipped the attempt. And I thought like I will be preparing this year and I will be giving an attempt. And given the opportunity to be an IFoS officer, I will definitely take this opportunity. I will definitely join the service. So that is my future ahead, and that is my current strategy. I won't be appearing in another exam. I will be joining the service.
So you'll join the forest services and your preparation
Yes,
is now done, and
yes, sir.
has given you a very happy ending, and your
Yes, sir.
cycle has now been complete. So congratulations to you. Not every
Thank you
student
so much.
gets
Thank you so much, sir.
the opportunity to be successful with this
Yes, sir.
preparation cycle.
Yes, sir.
You've done this, and you deserve this, and everything happened fairly well for you. I'm really happy for you, and I
Thank you
wish
so
you
much,
all
sir.
the best for your
Yes,
service.
sir.
And I'm
Yes, sir.
absolutely sure whatever role, whatever capacity that you get into in the service, you will definitely do a wonderful job, because
Thank you
that's
so much, sir.
your DNA, and you'll give justice to whatever tasks that have been assigned to you. That is what I've seen when you were working with us. So I'm absolutely sure the same would follow up in the
Okay.
services when you join. So congratulations, Navneet. Thank you for being
Okay, sir.
part of this show, and all the best for you for all the future endeavors. And please stay in touch.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. I would like really appreciate the effort you have given. Like even during my preparation and after the results, like even I couldn't manage your service. Like you have been there always supporting me, and then there's some sort team, because rather than the all team that was supporting even during my preparation, during my work, they have been supporting. So I am very grateful to all, and all the members, all the family, all the friends, mentors, everyone who has supported, who have given me the confidence like I can do this. So I'm grateful to all, and thank you so much for this initiative and for this platform. Thank you so much, sir.
All right. All the best. Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir.